melatonin. It's called the Dracula hormone. Why? Because like the Count, it's active at night. I'm interested in it. Why? Because melatonin is linked to sleep, and I would like to sleep better. Anyway, I started looking into melatonin, and as soon as you start doing some research on it, you come across the pineal gland, which is a tiny gland smack in the center of the brain where this hormone is produced. And you start looking into it, and they refer you to Galen, the Greek Roman physician who supposedly coined the word pineal because the pineal gland looked like the pine cone. Well, here's a little pine cone. So I start looking through texts of anatomy, looking through the internet, and nowhere can I find a picture of the pineal gland that looks anything like the pine cone. Well, it turns out that when you go back to the original literature, and what Galen actually said was that the gland looked like the pine nut, not the pine cone. But somehow this got mistranslated, and people are always talking about the pineal gland looking like the pine cone. It does not. But what does that pineal gland, which actually looks like the pine nut, what does it actually do? Galen didn't know. And Galen never did autopsies on humans because that was against Roman laws. He did do dissections of animals, and he actually found the pineal gland in the brain of an ox. Well, obviously, I had no idea what this did. And we really didn't have much of an idea until the 1970s when Richard Wortman at MIT looked into urine and analyzed components of urine and found melatonin in there. Furthermore, he found that there was more melatonin in urine that was produced between about 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. And thus, it became known as the Dracula hormone. So because it was only produced during the hours of darkness, he wondered whether or not this could have any effect on regulating sleep cycles. It was an obvious thing to try. And he set up a controlled, randomized trial. And it turned out that the subjects in the trial who took melatonin as a supplement actually did sleep better during the night than the ones who took the placebo. Now, he also studied how much melatonin would be useful, and he concluded that it was anywhere between 0.3 and 1 milligram. As soon as this research came to light, of course, the supplement manufacturers jumped on it, and you know how it is, more is better, and we started seeing melatonin, all kinds of pill forms, all kinds of amounts. However, one thing about these dietary supplements is that you really cannot rely on knowing that what is in there is exactly what the label says, because government bodies do not really oversee this. Melatonin is a natural material because it is found in nature. It's found, for example, in goji berries. It's found in tart cherries. So therefore, you can sell it as a dietary supplement, and it is essentially unregulated. So when you start looking at scientific evidence, there are studies all over the place. Some claim that it helps you with sleep, some that it is not so good. So because I do have some sleep issues, I've experimented with this, and I've been keeping to the Wortman doctrine, around 1 milligram. I've never found that more works any better. But one thing that I found is that sublingual sprays work better. And you can get these sublingual sprays, and one spray is about 1 milligram, and you just spray it underneath your tongue about an hour before you want to go to sleep. And some of the time that works. Of course, I'm not going to demonstrate that right now because I need to keep awake. And interestingly enough, it turns out that there's melatonin in milk. And you know the old story? You won't go to sleep? Nice glass of warm milk before